Okay, so you all have heard of Master and Commander, the movie. What does that title mean? That's what I would like to explore with you. Well, in a Navy ship back then, a ship of the line in what's his name? Nelson's Navy. That was a rank. Actually, Master and Commander were separate ranks. And let's explain this a bit. So, on a boat, there is a lot of shit going on, right? Especially a wooden sailing vessel of the 18th century. You have gun decks with their own commanders. You have the boat that needs to be sailed, and then like the helm that needs to be steered, and things that happen in the rigging need to correspond to things that happen at the helm, and vice versa. And if they don't, the ship stops moving. If the ship stops moving, we all die. So someone is in command of sailing the ship. Someone is in command of fighting the ship. And on truly big vessels, it gets more complicated than that. But let's start with this idea that there is a master and a commander. What is that? Well, the commander would be the one commanding the ship in combat. The master is the sailing master. So the people that sail the ship would be like the old salty sea dogs and the boatswains and shit that fucking run the rigging, right? There's one of them that was, the oldest and the most knowledgeable of them for several ships or whatever, and then eventually kind of retired to this position of sailing master. And he's the one that, when it's necessary to do this in combat and shit, works as the captain to maintain the ship going wherever the captain orders him to take it. So basically, he takes over for the captain as far as sailing the ship goes while the fight is on, and any time other that he might have need of it. The commander would be like number one in Star Trek. It's, your first officer. He is, probably commanding your gun batteries, right? So, what does this have to do with the movie? Well, on different types of boats, you had different levels of organization. On the Victory, you would have had probably a couple of sailing masters, and then you would have had probably the first in command or whatever, like your number one, and he would have had commanders under him, plural, to command a ship that big. I don't know how many he would have had. So then you go to like a ship like the Surprise in Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. Well, that is was this 32 gun frigate or something like that, if I remember right, somewhere in that range. It was a smaller ship of the line. It was the smallest of the ships of the line. That's the thing you need to get about that movie is that is not a big boat. That is the smallest military vessel in the British Navy that is considered a battleship at that time. There are smaller vessels, but they're used in the Mediterranean and they're sloops and stuff. There's nothing that they put out to open ocean that's really much smaller than that Surprise. She's a small, fast ship sent to do things like protect those whalers from pirates and shit. And as a result, her captain holds an interesting title usually. Very often, he is not a captain by rank. He is a commander, but he is the only person on this boat. So what is he? Well, he is the master and commander. He is the sailing master and commander of that vessel. There is no sailing master. There is no captain. It's just this commander who is everything. And that's, Captain Jack Aubrey or whatever. That's kind of the odd thing about that movie. He wouldn't, on that boat, he wouldn't have been a captain, probably. Maybe supposedly he had been on that ship a long time and he liked it and it was his. Could be the case. Maybe he's got a friend that's an admiral and he likes that boat. Okay, let's go with that. It's plausible. Uh, but in general, captains would have wanted a better vessel than that, a higher position in the fleet, and yada, yada, yada. So, what does this tell us about Captain Jack Aubrey? What does this tell us about the rank of master and commander? This is a rare thing in the British Navy. That's what this is telling us. Is that you get to be on your own, making your own decisions, sailing your own ship under your own command, fighting your own ship. That's what this title means. Just simply being a captain doesn't mean that. Captain can mean a lot of things. Okay, but usually you're in a bigger fleet and you're a small cog in a big wheel kind of thing. Master and commander implies that you're it. There's no admiralty over you. You're the head of your ship. You're the master and commander of your destiny. It's a beautiful thing. Like, it is the thing that everyone who ever wanted to be a ship captain, what they wanted to be was master and commander. And to me, I think that's funny, is that basically the idea of being captain doesn't really exist other than what they show here with Jack Aubrey. And this rank of master and commander, which he most assuredly had before he was awarded captaincy, probably via combat or whatever. But if he kept his ship and position and duties and whatever, it's because he likes what he does. And that boat's out on its own. And that's dangerous, but it's also how you reap the most reward. That's the other thing, is back in the day, a boat like this was essentially a pirate ship for the British Crown. She had orders to only attack things that were of Her Majesty's enemies. But things that you attacked that were of Her Majesty's enemies, you got to keep. So did Her Majesty. And that was how they did business, is you're working for us, you get paid well, but so do we get paid well. So they would go after these big ass fucking treasure fleets and shit of enemy vessels and whaling fleets and all this other stuff. And this is why they're talking in that movie about splitting up treasure. Jack Aubrey was a fucking pirate. And this is why people wanted to be master and commander. It's one thing to be a privateer. It's one thing to be a pirate. It's one thing to be a captain in Her Majesty's Navy. And it's a whole nother thing to be master and commander of your own sailing vessel on the South Atlantic with a captaincy in Her Majesty's Navy and the orders to loot, plunder, and pillage any and all French ships that you may come across. And please take them a prize. And the thing is, when you took a ship a prize back then, you know what a boat like that is worth? Think about it. Think about what a modern day aircraft carrier is worth. Think about what Jack Aubrey's share of one or two boats would be. The captain on a vessel he takes a prize, like half of the value of the ship would be the award to the crew, and the captain would get half of that. Usually, or something like that. It was a negotiated amount. But like the captain got the biggest share of that for damn sure, right? And it was divided up amongst the crew, and there was a certain amount of this. And like, this is how Navy and sailing men have done things for years, and this is why pirate crews form so easily. Is because basically they are pirates, in the employ of the British Navy. At least to some extent, some of these people back then were. Not all of them, but people like Aubrey, who were out on their own with a ship under their own command in time of war, they were looking to make a name for themselves. They were looking to make money. The only way you make money is by hunting boats. That's why I think this is a really cool movie. It's a it's a depiction of a thing that was rare. It was rare, but it existed. And it existed basically every time the European powers went to war between like the Middle Ages and World War One ish. Really, like the Civil War, Revolutionary War. It was really by the Revolutionary War, there really weren't pirates as much as there used to be. That heyday of piracy was in that like 14, 15, 16, 1700s. Much after, 1776, if there were pirates, they took all their money and they went to America and bought land. Hell, they didn't buy land. They just fucking took all their money and went and claimed some plot of land and started farming and shooting all the Indians. And that actually is painting a bad picture. They didn't shoot all the Indians. They definitely traded with a bunch of them and fucked a bunch of them too. But like, this was the thing about the people that settled America. You need to get where they were willing to be on a boat for months to get here. If you were doing that and physically capable, you were probably a sailor. So who do you think ended up out on the frontier just not wanting to work on the ocean anymore? And one second, I need a cough. Sorry, not wanting to work on the ocean anymore, and not wanting to, be a part of whatever that is, because like what we have now was already forming back east. This is why the vagabonds and shit that ended up in Texas and Oklahoma and all the rest of the red states, we all got pushed out here because we were a part of this, you know, legacy of the first people that got over here. And like we've attracted other people to our cause since then, for damn sure. But this is the frontier of America. If you wonder why I talk about piracy so much with all of this stuff, this is it. Our founding fathers, like the people that wrote the Declaration of Independence, weren't all necessarily pirates. There were a couple of them that they were not pirates, but they knew some. And they hired them a lot. Shipping people. It's interesting. A couple people lost their entire shipping empire when they went to war against England. I forget which one that was. Anywho, but a lot of the people that came to fight in the revolution were these people that didn't like the fucking English and sailed the seas. The age of piracy culminated, I think, with the American Revolution. The best pirate, period, is John Paul Jones. Sit around me, children, and hear the tale of John Paul Jones, who was pardoned for his piracy in 2004. So, John Paul Jones was given a boat. I forget which one it was. It was the Bohram Richard, and it was one of these new American frigates that they were technologically advanced for their time, much as shown with the enemy ship in Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. And as a result, they were able to give the British Navy a bit of a run, and sometimes especially because the British Navy was focused on, I don't know, fighting a war over there and not on, I don't know, protecting the coast of England. So what did John Paul Jones do? He sacked towns along the coast of England, and I forget the towns, but like there were one of the towns on the coast of England had a warrant out for his arrest that was still good until 2004 for crimes against the crown or some shit like that because basically he led a pirate raid on their city in the name of America. Like this is what you get when you have navy people. At their core, to some extent, every one of them is a little bit of a pirate. Now, to what degree that comes out is determined, one second, by many factors and by the company they keep. But it's there. And, John Paul Jones, the father of the American Navy, according to the English, should have been hung for piracy, especially when you consider that he did steal ships from them. Uh, the thing that ended up happening to the Beauregard Richard was it got sunk while fighting with the Serapis. And as I recall, basically, at a point in the battle, John Paul Jones realized that his ship was going to sink and therefore ordered all of his men to stop fighting on that ship and start fighting to take control of the other ship and the other ship only. So, like, just give up on defending this one. You know, that's a bold move. That means that you take the chance of owning no ships, to be clear. But in reality, if that ship's sinking, who fights in a burning house? Let's go fight over the ship that's not going to sink. Pretty smart. Would have been smarter had he just not picked a fight with a bigger ship that sunk his ship, which I think was the case, basically. But what does it tell you about him and his crew that they were engaged in such a battle that their ship was sunk, essentially, or sinking, and they managed to overtake the Serapis, which was a superior ship with more people on it. I think some of this was due to some bluffing and some shit, but like I don't remember the exact story on this, but he did get like a substantial portion of the crew to surrender before they realized that their ship was sinking. Something like that. You know, fake it till you make it kind of deal. The ship already had a reputation for like being nigh unsinkable. And by focusing his entire crew on taking the Serapis, it looked like, oh shit, well, there's even more people fighting. Where did these people come from? And now they're so worried about that they don't have time to even worry about shooting at your boat anymore, thus buying it as much time as it could have and probably doing a convincing job of like looking like a ship for 15 more minutes while you bluff these guys into surrendering. It's pretty badass. Like this is the thing that I really love about the Navy and pirates is it's all really one thing to some extent. And all the stories you've ever heard about fucking Navy men on the ocean doing great things are cool. All the things you've ever heard about pirates on the ocean are cool. Why? Because they all sail fucking boats. Because they're all master and commander of their own destiny. That's what makes them great. It's the way I would like to be. That's the way I think we should all be. And that's from here on out in life what I'm doing. I don't know exactly how I'm going to make money and do this, but I've already figured out some of it in my, you know, cheapo fucking transportation for I'm guessing the next 20, 30 years in the Mobile of Doom slash possible cheap place to live for a month or two if I needed it. Like this is the thing is you realize how much money you can save by not having a house for like 6 months to a year? It all depends on how bad you want the thing that you want to go for. That's how bad I want the shit that I want to go for. That's why I'm preparing to do some of the things that I am doing. And this is why, in essence, I would rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. Like, that's where I'm at. If I buy 2 to 5 maybe not, like, if I buy 2 to 10 acres of desert somewhere with like a well I can drill or some shit, maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna need more than that, really. Like, I guess desert really wouldn't work for my plan. I need like farmland, at least someplace halfway decent to do that kind of a thing. Because like my plan is to get set up to the point to where there's no bills basically, and there's maybe like you have to fix some solar equipment every now and then, and to fill that fund, we make knives and swords and weapons and shit and farm and raise livestock. I think that's the way to go. I think that's the future of America. And, I would say go buy a sailboat and shit, but it looks like the ocean might be drying up. I don't know what the fuck's going on with the weather. I think I think we're about to see a lot of people die because they aren't the master and commander of their own destinies. So work on that. That's the lesson of this little talk, if there was any. I hope you guys enjoy these. I'm going to try to do more of these in particular, where these are 20 minutes and talk about this kind of shit and various things and history and motivation and all the things that we like to talk about. So, thanks for watching.